Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Liz Saul. No, I'm not Russ and I'm not Neil, longy long. The boys are away, so they've left me in charge for today for the next hour. Welcome to SAUL. Now, I know what you're thinking. I've realised this myself. That it looks like that I'm sitting in my dining room, so there's the kitchen behind me. It looks like I've got loads of liquor there. Somebody said the other day, they were like, oh, look at all your wine and alcohol and everything. This is oat milk. This is aloe vera drink, which is very nice and very healthy as well. So sorry to disappoint. There might be one or two bottles of wine just behind, so that's all good as well. But welcome along. Good to see you. I've got a plethora of guests today, I'm very pleased to say. I'm going to be joined shortly by Ant Nigliazio, which I've probably pronounced wrong, Masters. And I can see him grinning about it as we speak in the backstage area in our very special green room. He's a mental health advocate, nature bathing, mindfulness, which is very important these days. I'd like to say it's a very serious subject. It is something that we should take more notice of for definite, but that doesn't mean it has to be a very dour subject. So we're going to have a very interesting and happy discussion, I would think. And then a little later on, I'm going to be talking as well and be joined by Louise Ashford. She's a mum. First and foremost, she has been dealing rather eloquently but exhaustingly with the UK British education system. I should say England and Wales because it is different in Scotland and Northern Ireland and Wales as well. But she's sort of, again, another mental health advocate, but for her children. She gave up her main career in order to support her children through education, and she's going to tell us a little bit about that, as they both have SEN special educational needs. But that's coming up a little later on. First and foremost, I'd like to introduce you to Anthony. Hello, good afternoon.
Hiya, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. And how are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. On this sunny day. Isn't it glorious for a Monday?
Oh, it's lovely. Although we are predicted thunderstorms.
Until about 9, I believe.
Yes, exactly. Now, I should say that you're sort of scattered across the southeast. You were in Kent and now you're in Berkshire. So
Yeah.
you've got a good view of basically all of it, really. But aside from your day job, you're very much into nature bathing while we're talking about the weather and stuff. So
Yeah.
when everyone's finished laughing, you can tell us a bit about that.
Well, indeed. I mean, weather does play a big part in how you do nature bathing and where you do it. But come rain or shine, there's something out there for everybody. So it's what you choose to do, really. But you can have a really chilled, enjoyable time wherever you are in nature. And Berkshire has its fair share of wonderful places.
Now, I was going to say, I need to point out that you don't necessarily need to be naked to do this. In fact, if you're just out walking on a public footpath, you probably
fully clothed.
It's not the same as naturism.
It's probably more suitable if you're in a field or on a footpath. There are. If you do choose to go to maybe to be in your birthday suit, as they say. There are some places you can go, but largely I would put clothing on.
Yes, exactly. Tell us about nature bathing. It's from a Japanese idea, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an ancient practice, and originally, as you say, came from Japan. But it's about being in touch with nature, being in touch with the foundation of humanity, the foundation of where we've all come from. We are very much all part of nature, and it's about how we reconnect. So I see it as my way of doing digital detox and just taking some time for myself. And it's really therapeutic and really simple to do. And as I said, I'm very happy to go out in the rain, particularly this time of year when it's warm. The dog likes it as well. So going out for a walk when it's raining is absolutely stunning.
Now, are you sure the dog likes it? Because I've seen lots of dogs.
Well, he does. He's not a massive fan of water. he's not a massive fan of water and he's not a massive fan of rain, but he's a massive fan of going for walks. So, you've got to take the rough with the smooth. Excuse the
Oh
pun.
dear, that
Oh.
was a terrible joke. Oh dear. Um, Hello,
We're only
very
5 minutes
quickly.
in as well.
I know. You see, well, I did say it would be entertaining. Got to say some hellos of people who have tuned in today. Hello to Sue Sleet, who says, "Morning, Liz." I do that as well around midday. What time is it? And hello to Kimmy Lashmar, who's also listening and watching as well. Hello to both of you. Hello to both ladies. I hope everybody is well. Now, you talked about going out and not a fan of the wet and the rain, because I see some pretty miserable looking dogs being dragged around by their owners. Now, come on, we're having a walk. It's good for you. And the dog is like seething, dripping wet, even if they've got a fancy coat on, and they're just like, no.
No. I mean, for me, the preferred option is somewhere nice, dry, and this time of year, warm and sunny. But nature bathing, any place, anywhere, as long as you can sit down or you can walk. It's absolutely up to you. But it's just being in a really pleasant space where you can breathe and you can just disconnect, and that's what it's all about. And be in touch with the natural world, in a forest, at a beach, in a field, anywhere.
Now, you mentioned digital detox.
Yeah.
I know that you and I have talked before about it doesn't need to interrupt your day, as it were. It's something you can do in your lunch hour and things
Absolutely.
like that.
10-15 minutes, absolutely perfect. And 2 or 3 times a week is enough. It doesn't need to be hours and hours. Just simple disconnect for 10-15 minutes to allow yourself to just be amongst nature, be amongst the trees, sit at a really lovely beach on a bench looking out to sea. The horizon, looking out to sea, can actually really ground you, can help you feel balanced, can help you feel a sense of space and freedom. And so being able to look out to horizon puts a lot in perspective as well. So there is a real sense of space and your role in the world. So it just kind of helps to ground and just kind of get that sense of freedom and space. So it's really beneficial.
And why is it so important in this digital age, as it were, that we do stop and look around at the natural world?
I think what for me, it's definitely connected to that space and that sense of freedom. We are bombarded by messages, and I think as humans, we've been bombarded with messages probably, since the dawn of advertising, sort of the 30s and 40s, the growth of advertising, but with the boom of digital information, email, social media, there's so much around us now. We're bombarded with messages from loved ones, from friends, from colleagues, whether it's via WhatsApp, Teams, whatever it might be, whatever platform. Our phones are our personal computers and our laptops as well. So we are connected, but actually it's too much for the brain. And I think sometimes you do need that sense of space. And space not just from people and things, but space from digital information. Whereas sort of years gone by, we could turn the radio off, turn the TV off. But now our personal computers are in our pockets. We're addicted to them. So being able to switch off and making that choice, it's about choosing, really, and
you do
choosing
need
to do
to have
this.
that time to just, even if it's for 10-15 minutes, as you say,
Yep.
just to stop.
Yep, absolutely. To just have a sense of space and a sense of freedom from the noise. It's a white noise, and to sit there and we did it a couple of months ago, didn't we? Sat there observing ducks swimming on the mill pond, hearing the leaves, the wind blowing through the trees,
And
that
the
sense of the
waterfall.
birds twittering. So it's connecting to things that we all take for granted. They're always there, but going to find them and having that sense of space and connection to those things when we're normally hearing the sound of a text alert or the phone ringing or a Teams call coming in. Those noises, those digital noises, are part and parcel of life now. But it's not through choice. We do it because that's part of our lives now. But to go out and find nature and choose to be amongst it is really beneficial, and is really mindful. We don't do a lot of mindful things anymore. So this morning I was just taking some time to do a bit of DIY,
Yes.
and I just recently bought a new bench for the garden. And so
Okay.
it's kind of just, applying some sort of furniture oil to it, and just for an hour, found
Yeah.
myself completely immersed in that activity and not thinking about anything other than the stroke of the brush, making sure that it was going on. Even so, the focus away from the things that we might be thinking about, the digital noises, answering emails, looking at text messages, just focusing on that one act really, really helped me disconnect. And, it's the same with nature. When you're focusing on the sounds, the sights, the smells, it really does take you to a different space, and it's really beneficial.
Which is helpful for all of us. I'm going to do a couple more hellos of people who have tuned in. It's Paul Claridge. Good afternoon, Liz and the gang. Also need to say hello to Robert Van Buren, who always tunes in as well. Hello to you. I hope you're both having a good day so far. If you do have any questions or comments for Anthony, do please drop us a comment and we shall get round to them. And Paul has done just that. This says, dogs and nature are great therapists. If you're feeling down, take a dog for a walk in a park, or if you're lucky enough in the countryside, and you will feel the benefits. I'm not saying it'll fix depression, but it will lift your spirits and help you see things with clarity. Thank you for that, Paul.
Completely agree. It's absolutely spot on. It's, nature bathing. Nature bathing isn't a cure, but it can certainly lift you, take you to a totally different space, and bring a sense of perspective to stuff, and just supports you. Supports you because you're choosing to do something. You're choosing to take yourself out of a situation. So choosing to do it is actually a sense of ownership and a sense of not control, but a sense of empowerment to do something different, to take yourself out of a situation, whether it be, you live in a setting where you need some space, you need to get away from people or from digital information. So you're empowering yourself to do something about your situation. So, and choosing to go and sit in a park, choosing to go and wander through a field or sit near the seaside. Again, it's empowering and you're benefiting from it. So definitely.
Now, Paul has mentioned dogs here. You've mentioned your dog. Is he around, or has he gone into hiding now? He was around earlier.
He's currently asleep, but I will go and get him. He's certainly a character.
Oh, bless him. And it's not raining at the moment, so he won't complain about being wet.
No.
Another comment here comes in from Dave A. Sleet. Greetings, one and all. Blue and green therapy was the pre-pharmaceutical standard, which included the audio connections. You mentioned earlier about noises while we were walking around that nature reserve a couple of months ago in the Kent countryside, or not even in the countryside. It was near Maidstone.
Yeah.
And that again is an important thing as well. You also talk about mindfulness, and as you were saying, just a simple task as putting a treatment oil on a new bench can help you to settle your mind for a while.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I take the opportunity where I can to think about mindfulness, and it can be in the simple acts like cleaning your teeth in the morning. The whole approach to teeth cleaning, 2 minutes is the standard, and actually 2 minutes of focusing on the act of the sensation of the toothbrush on your teeth, the taste of the toothpaste, the water that you're running from the tap. the act of putting your toothbrush. So if you're focusing on that thing, it can disconnect you from those feelings of anxiety, can disconnect you from the busyness of maybe thinking about a meeting that's coming up or a connection with somebody that you might be fearful of, as an example. So that sense of disconnect, to focus on that particular thing, is really beneficial. You know, when you're driving the car, although you want to focus on the road, but
Yes.
feeling the steering wheel, you know, the stitching in the steering wheel, as an example, that sensation. So the various different things that you can focus on to help you disconnect.
Oh, and as the minute he said disconnect, he seems to have disconnected. Isn't technology great when you're trying to talk about mindfulness? Just while Ant sorts out his technology for the moment, I shall bring in my other guest. Please welcome Louise Ashford. Hello.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yes, not too bad at all, thank you. Now, I should, full disclosure, Louise is one of my millions of cousins around the world, although she's actually only down the road in Watford at the moment, so that's okay. We shall, as I say, hopefully come back to Ant in just a few moments' time. I think he's trying to sort out his connection. But I asked Louise to join me on the programme today as I say, she is glitzy glass, Watford, if you didn't know. But it was a rather sort of handbrake turn in a career. There was a very particular reason for that. So why don't you tell us a bit about where you're at and how you got there?
Wow, how long have you got? So it really started, let's just go with it. Both my children are neurodiverse. I have a son who's 13 who's got autism and quite severe anxiety. And my daughter's 9 and she has got autism and ADHD together with something called PDA, which is pathological demand avoidance. And it got to a point where both were becoming very school avoidant for various reasons. And doing my job as a senior administrator was getting quite difficult. So we decided that I had to stop work. And when I stopped work, I decided to make my hobby a job, which is
your side hustle.
My side hustle, which is putting glitter on anything you can.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Including the dog, because you've got a dog as well. We were talking about dogs before.
Because going back to what Ant was saying, I find it also very therapeutic. And it's for me to get away from my stress of what's going on with all of this at home. I find it very relaxing to go and immerse myself in glitter, quite honestly. But yeah, it's kind of been a two-prong approach, if you like, which is being able to stay at home far more to be around for my kids, but to also do three-prong, do something I enjoy and sometimes make a little bit of money out of it.
You mentioned about Ant and it being therapeutic. I think he's back with us, so I shall add him back in again.
Hi.
There we go.
Hello.
So Ant's therapy is going out for a walk. Your therapy is chucking glitter everywhere, but actually in a very, I was going to say, in a very talented fashion, because it's very good, considering it's something that you've had to, as I say, do a rather a kind of abrupt turn in order to support your children's education. Now, being neurodiverse is something that's people are a little more comfortable talking about, I would say. I know I am, because we've talked about it in the family and things like that, but there are still people who would be like, oh, they're just naughty children. Oh, they're just unsociable. Oh, it's just this, that, and the other. So talk to us about how neurodiversity has shaped your family, because I can't imagine it's terribly therapeutic or mindful at times in the house.
Well, it's a breeze. It's a walk in the park. No, it's really not. We have a lot of moments, as you're aware of, Liz, in the house. Having one child with who is very sensory to loud noises, and another child who is sitting right next to me listening in on this, who's rather loud. Can be a bit difficult in a 3-bedroom semi-detached house. It's a big learning curve. It's a big learning curve. And as my own therapist says, it's a form of bereavement in its own way, because when you have children, you always expect this lovely, life with a white picket fence and going out on family meals and wonderful holiday. And it's never that way with this family. We can never really go out for dinner. My husband and I had our first date in about 3 years the other night for our wedding anniversary.
Ah, congratulations.
So it's I'm not going to lie, it's not the easiest life. You wouldn't choose it. But it is what it is. And as my famous saying is, you've got to play the hand of cards that you've been dealt. And that's what it is. That's how it works here. It's crazy.
Talk to us about the because and this is the thing as well, is not everybody is aware going children now, there's a lot of support available. Certainly when we were, all of us, I think, growing up, it was very much children are seen and not heard, and you just have to sort of get on with it. Nowadays there's a lot of support and effort putting into how a child feels, and how they're going to make their way in life. But that doesn't always work. It is in the schools as well. So talk to us about how you found SEN, which stands for Special Educational Needs, in the school system.
I'm going to start by saying the people that have supported us have been fantastic. When you have found those right people. On the flip side of that, it's been a shocker of a couple of years for us as a family. Mainly, or a big part of it, is the schools not understanding. For examples, looking at my lovely little girl as I speak, when she didn't want to go into school, the response was, "Well, bring her in, even if she's in her pajamas," which we did with a lot of angst on one day, and we dragged her into school, and then they wouldn't come and get her from the car. So we've got her here. We've done what you've asked of us. We're all very stressed out. We're all crying. What are you going to do now to get her actually in the building? Oh, we can't do anything. So it's those kind of situations that are very difficult. And then my son, Charlie, as you know, Liz, has not actually been to school since February this year. He's suffering what is known as an autistic burnout, so a mental breakdown. We went to A&E crisis in February, and his appointment is next month. Months later.
That's not helpful.
It's not helpful at all. We have finally found someone within the school that is incredibly supportive and is now doing everything he can to help get Charlie back into school. Charlie is, they both are very intelligent children, very high functioning, neurodiverse children. They both have an amazing future ahead of them. Charlie wants to go into cybercrime in GCHQ, and I just feel that the education system is letting these massive, bright, shining stars of our future fall through the cracks because they don't know how to deal with their emotions. And it's a really sad story.
And it seems to be an emerging thing. As I said, it's not even sort of 20, 30 years ago that children were just, they're just a bit difficult. They're a bit this, they're a bit that. You just got to get on with it. They'll grow out of it and all these other things. Whereas there's much more of a concern that how we shape our children in those early years will help them in the future. It just seems to be a bit of a paradox, both from my own experience in the NHS systems and also in the education systems from family members such as yourself, that, things happen very quickly in terms of digital. Anthony talked about digital detox, to stop and take 15 minutes and take time out because things happen so fast. And yet the support systems that we've relied on for years and years and years, the NHS is 75 years old, 80 years old now. No, yes. Anyway, it's very old. It was in the wake of World War II that the NHS came about. But there seems to be a lag between how quickly things can happen on social media and what ought to happen in a child's life, because those moments are gone as quickly as, digital these days. So
yeah. I mean, Charlie was diagnosed in the year that Connie is now in, 4 years ago. Nothing's changed. Nothing has changed. And I know we all know that there is massive underfunding. There is massively low support. But unfortunately, we have come across actually also just some sheer incompetence in our story, for sure. that has led to traumatizing both our kids even further. And it was nothing to do with underfunding. And from stories I've shared with other parents in similar situations, that seems to quite often be the case, is that it is the case of, well, someone didn't send this piece of information, or, you know, someone didn't listen when you said a specific thing. And that might be to do with being overpressured, but it's not to do with being underfunded or not having the resources.
And sometimes it can be something as simple as just finding that one thing that will help the child. I'll come back to that in just a second, because we have a lovely gang of viewers and listeners who participate in the programme. If you have a comment for either Louise or Anthony, then do please drop it in the comments box and we will put it to them. Dave Sleet says, finding the passion and connection that gives us balance is the key to success on every level. My guests are both nodding at that one, so thank you for that, Dave. And Paul Clara just come back with, I have a close friend. She and I support each other at times of need. She has mental health issues, including suicidal iterations. When she's had an episode, I run to her rescue. Last week, she threatened suicide at a roadside. We talked and walked with her dog. She and I sat in a park and hugged a tree. Within an hour, she came down from the episode. The power of dogs, nature, and talking. Ant and Lou, you both have dogs, and I'm sure they have both helped massively. Ant, do you want to talk to us about Hardy? Let's give him a little mention.
I mean, Hardy's going to be 14 in October. We got him as a rescue. He was about 10 months old. Mm-hmm. And I'm a firm. Sorry?
What is he? What sort of dog?
He's a Border Lakeland Cross Terrier. So he's got stacks of energy. He's not a big fella, but he's certainly got a bark like a lion. He's got a heart like a lion. He's a good lad, and he's certainly energized. He gets me out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning for a walk,
whether you want to or not.
Well, indeed, and I'm a firm believer that I think dogs find humans that need them. And we certainly connected. We love them to bits.
And Lou, you have a teddy, but not like the one behind you.
Oh no! I didn't realise that was his shot. Not like the one behind. We have. What's his full name? Ted Star, White Sox, Pickles, Ashford, and he is a Bordoodle. So he's a Border Collie poodle, and he's also nuts. Yeah, he's a bit poorly today. Otherwise, I think he'd be in shock. But he's not feeling great today.
Oh, bless him.
He's probably off to the vets later, I think. But he definitely, I think Connie will agree. He definitely helps calm her down, and Charlie. And he knows when the kids are upset, or any of us actually. And he'll come and sit with us and give us a snuggle. And he does. He just has a very, very calming effect on the whole family. Yeah, I suppose.
And going out with the dog can very much help you refocus, whether you go out into nature bathing or go into the countryside, or whether you just sort of march around the block.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be long. I mean, just being outside and choosing to do something for yourself and for the dog is so healthy. It's, just the 10 minutes of walk every day can make a massive difference to your well-being, because what you're doing is you're using your body. You're using, every system that you've got within. So we all have 11 systems within our bodies, and they all interact with each other. So if you're doing movement, you're using your muscles, you're breathing, your blood is pumping. So all of those systems are working together. So it can only be of benefit to you. But just getting that different perspective is incredibly calming, and just gives you that sense of just being out there and connected to the dog, and you're both doing something together, which actually just is part of your journey, it's part of your story.
And Lou, I know that because you've got a park nearby, it's quite easy to grab Teddy and go across the road, isn't it?
Yeah, don't say that word too loud. No, he loves it over there. He does love it over there. Oh, here he comes. Hello.
Oh, look at that nose.
He's got a huge nose. No, he loves it over there. And also, I think Ant will probably agree. You meet so many other people through the dog as well. Like, I have so many people in my phone now as, the dog's name and their mum or whoever, that we've made some really good friends through the dogs. which is really empowering as well. And it just gives you a bit of a social burst as well to talk about something other than what's going on at home.
We are all animal lovers on this programme. Paul is out walking his dog Jackson. If I say that loud enough, he'll probably get excited. A huge lemon beagle in our favourite green space in Barnet and Brook Farm. We know that, don't we, Brook Farm? I grew up near there. Had a stressful morning and now I'm de-stressed. Paul, I'm sorry to hear you had a stressful morning, but I'm glad that being out with Jackson, I nearly called him Lemon then. Lemon Beagle, Jackson is the name of the dog.
I've not heard of a lemon beagle. I need to look up.
I haven't either. I wonder if it's. You'll have to explain this further, Paul. Is that across? Is he lemon because he's a Labrador as well, or that's the only thing that came to mind for me? Well, thank you so much, Paul. And please, as I say, if you want to drop a comment or a question to either Louise or Anthony, do please do so. Now, I mentioned sometimes it can be something very simple that can help you or your child. We talked about dog walking as a way to de-stress very quickly, or even getting outside for 10 to 15 minutes. But Lou, with Charlie, it was just finding something and the school suggesting something that piqued his interest. Tell us about that.
We had an amazing breakthrough last week. Sorry, the dog's now chasing his tail.
Such a distraction.
You make a smile. So after, as I say, talking to many people, it was a particular deputy head teacher that suddenly said, what really piques his interest? And we said, well, he loves being on the tech crew for the productions, really enjoys doing the lighting and the sound and stuff like that, because he's a bit of a techie geek. And they said, well, bring him in. Let's see if we can get him back into school to do one of the performances. So he's gone from not going to school in 5 months and crying as we drove past the site to going in for 12 hours on Wednesday.
Wow.
With the tech rehearsal, the dress rehearsal, and then the full performance in the evening. And I think, you've touched on something else there, Liz, that the education system is set up for this. You must do this, and this in order to go forward in your future. And yeah, that's great. I went through the education system. I've got A-levels. I've got a degree. I'm doing nothing to do with any of those. And that's what got Charlie back into school. Sometimes we need to focus not necessarily on the academic, no matter, he's, let's say, incredibly intelligent kid. He came up with 91% in his CAS, having a panic attack through the whole stream of tests. But academia is challenging for him mentally. Whereas you get him in on a practical topic, and he was right at home, completely animated. So I think we may be missing a trick of working out what our kids actually need and want, and what will help them move forward.
And I was going to say, just so you can get a variety of official qualifications these days. They're not all completely academic. You have got your usual GCSEs and A-levels. Yep. A lot of the GCSEs are more practical now. You have tech GCSEs and things like that. But you also have, instead of A-levels, you can do an apprenticeship. Certainly, my day job at the BBC, we have 10 different apprenticeships and at least 3 different levels that you can apply for and things like that. And across the board, because they're short of things like practical subjects in the trade, plumbers and electricians, but also carpenters as well. More recently, the people who just don't do woodwork anymore. It's a dying art. Really going back to something that Anthony said earlier, I'm sure you're not about to become a carpenter or anything, Anthony, but just actually working with a piece of wood, doing that sort of treatment on the wood, that can help as well. You can make a career out of it if you so chose, but equally it helps your mental health by being able to choose that career.
For sure. I think there's a lot of roles now that in terms of kind of reasonable adjustment, the workplace is certainly changing for the better. And I think as the generations kind of come through, there's a wider understanding around ND and what people need. And I've seen it change in the time that I've been in the workplace. And actually, it's about getting the right bums on seats, as it were, and in the right role. So I think things are changing for the better. So, neurodiversity is seen in a positive way more than it used to be. And I think that's really hopeful. And I think it'll only improve, because it's about the skills and the skills that we bring to the workplace that actually enable us to do jobs that are more in tune with our capability and our skill set. So that's really encouraging. And I think it's only going to improve. So hopefully that's of help to you, Louise, but certainly where I work and the places that I worked are certainly changing for the better. But like you say, Liz, doing things like woodworking, plumbing, all of those skills, those traditional skills, they're in huge demand, because we're all very good at the work that we do, and some people don't have those natural skills to be able to put their hand to DIY. And so handy people that can put their hands to doing basic plumbing, simple electrical tasks, as long as they've got the qualifications, they will always be in demand. AI is never going to replace those physical, creative roles, because actually it can't. It's a digital thing. So, those roles are great for us to be able to tap into if you've got the capability. But apprenticeships, that sort of thing, is allowing people to just retrain and do things in a different way.
And to do things that they're comfortable in doing. Not everyone wants to stand up and talk to an audience or chat to people, she says. The thing is, though, is something like that I alluded to earlier, the education system, the health system, they do need overhauls in certain elements of it. And because they're both such big beasts, we're really fortunate to have those things in this country to the level that we do. But it does take a long time to change it, even though there's the acceptance there that by and large, and as you were saying, Louise, that there are some people who do want to help and do things, but equally you're sometimes hemmed in by the existing system and the existing rules, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, one particular example for us of that was I don't want to speak ill of her when she's sitting right next to me. Connie had a really rough time about 18 months ago, and she did develop autistic psychosis. And we did go into hospital by ambulance in restraints and things. And when the team came to see her, they agreed that there was an issue and that she needed certain medications to help her, which thankfully she's now on, and we have a much happier life. But at the time, they said the length of the queue, shall we say, the wait for diagnosis, 2 years. But clearly we're in a very dangerous situation in our home at this time. They said, well, you just have to wait the 2 years. So having said,
and that's not helpful.
It's not helpful. Having said, and I will be very blunt. A mental health practitioner did say to us, if you do not get medicated soon, one of you will be dead. As simple as that. But go back and wait on the queue for 2 years. Now, luckily, we were very fortunate to have a family member that helped us out financially, and we got Connie diagnosed very quickly privately. We then had a battle to get the NHS to take over her medication costs, which were costing us over £100 a month, having given up my job. So there's certain things where the triage processes, the need to be able to assess the importance of a situation quickly and know what is a priority, I think is something that, as you say, the procedures and the processes need to be overhauled. And that's not necessarily a monetary thing. That is a logical and practical way to look at things. Things are not the same as they were 50 years ago. So you have to look at them through a different set of eyes. And what is the logical process to move these things, not just in neurodiversity, in oncology, in heart disease, in all different things. There are certain people that need to jump the queue, regardless of what the process and procedure is.
And as I say, these things are a big beast, the NHS, the education system, so it does take time. But equally, and something that, Ant, you alluded to a little earlier in the programme, that, a lot of companies such as yours are quite good at saying, yes, we agree that mental health is important. We agree that getting out in your lunch break is important. that's something that you found in your work, that they're very accepting of you being conscious of your mental health.
Yeah, huge advocates, and I think there's a lot to be said for taking your team out of the workplace, taking your team out of, what can be a stressful environment, particularly if it's fast paced and very heavily reliable on email, digital comms, that sort of thing. And we do it a number of times where we have a problem or a challenge, so we take the team out. We luckily enough have a place where we can go in the Lewes Valley, which is a stunning conservation area. So we'll go for a walk, pull a problem apart, whatever that might be, whether it's a campaign or just maybe personal challenges. And we bring a very different perspective to it. Creative thinking. You change your whole perspective when you're out of one particular environment and put yourself in another. So it releases so many different ways to think. You think creatively, you bring different elements to it. So that type of approach to really change is beneficial not only to mental health, but it's beneficial just to the way we work, the way we think, the way we connect with each other, and the way we talk to each other. So yeah, huge advocate for doing things differently.
I think it's also beneficial to the employers. Sorry to jump in.
No, go for it.
I know that my employers, when I was working, they were so behind me. They would do anything. They would, what if you start at this time and finish at this time? What if you can do these days from home? It's such a massive impact. And, for them to recognize, and I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but for them to recognize when they've got somebody that can do the job they want them to do, well, let's support that person in doing that job, however that might be. And by, as you say, and taking them out of the workplace, learning to understand how you can all work better together by understanding each other's needs and wants, and how your home life affects your work. I think that is so important. And if more employers understood that it actually makes better sense for them as much as the employees, because then they get a much better workforce out of it.
I think there's definitely been a change since the pandemic, as an example, with particularly working from home, more flexible working. I think modern working practices are different and more supportive, and I think that's what's changing in the workplace as well. Not all workplaces are as flexible as others, but it certainly helps, particularly with family life, those sort of organisations that are focused around family and understand the pressures that families are under, particularly now with the cost of living and everything. So, it's really important to find a workplace, a workplace that, is beneficial to those circumstances and actually to the needs of the family and the employee. So, it is about flexibility for sure.
Hello to Connie, who has just joined us. And hello to Mark
normal. I've heard that. What I said once, I've heard it 100 times.
And hello to Mark Hampson, who's also tuned in. Good conversation today. I've got you, Liz, and your guests in stereo on YouTube and Facebook. Yes, you can listen and watch us on many platforms, including Facebook, on YouTube, if you go to the Midday Show for each one. And also, if you go to Russ Kane's LinkedIn, it's live on there as well as we speak. And then you can watch it all back again after we finish at 1 o'clock this afternoon. So about another 15 minutes or so. Response to your questions. If you've got questions for Lou and for Ant, by the way, do feel free to drop us a comment and we'll get it to them. Paul has come back to us about the dog. On Dog Watch here. We're all dog lovers, all animal lovers. We're very curious to know that Jackson has a lighter colour than standard beagles, which is termed as lemon. And despite his parents and siblings all being normal standard beagles, he's huge and has similar physical traits to Labradors. Wow. I knew it came in there somewhere. Apparently DNA can skip siblings, etc. So there you go. He's got a very special lemon beagle that he's currently on a walk with. Hello to Emma Webb as well, who's watching on YouTube. Hello, all good, strong stuff. Hello to Emma. I hope your day is going calmly so far. And as we're talking about dogs, talking about mental health and things like that, Louise, you mentioned that as a result of your situation, you had to leave your main career, and you're now your own boss, basically, with your side hustle. So give yourself a plug. Tell us about that.
I always loved creative, doing things with my hands. And I
I
just
used to paint my nails as a kid.
I did used to paint your nails as a kid. Yeah, that's very true. And I did little artistic flares on them and things, which is essentially what I do with glasses. So I started off doing wine glasses and Connie wants to go and get you some examples now. I started off doing some wine glasses, gin glasses, Prosecco glasses, things like that. And it just branched out to every time I went in a shop and saw something that could be glittered. The glitter treatment, quite frankly. And then I decided to buy myself one of those machines that lets you personalize things and print things in different logos and whatnot. So now, look, here we go. My trusty assistant.
Your glamorous assistant with glamorous glasses. Oh, wow. There we go.
So we do some, and then this one she wants me to show you as well.
Oh, that's lovely.
That's amazing.
So yeah, we do lots of little personalised things. So end of school year has been a relatively busy one.
You definitely do glitter bathing, don't you? That's for sure.
Glitter bathing, brilliant.
Glitter bathing. Oh, and I'm sorry, I'm being passed more examples.
Oh, T-shirts. Very cool.
Yeah.
Now that's a new line, isn't it? You didn't have that.
It's before. A relatively new line. Yeah. We started. I wanted to get. Somewhat, move up, Mum, she says. I wanted to get someone a T-shirt for her birthday that had cheerleading on it because that's her favourite thing to do. But it was very difficult to find anyone that had cheerleading logo, so I designed my own.
Why not?
Why not, indeed? Entrepreneurial, I love it.
Where can we find glitzy glass?
So we're on Instagram, Facebook. It's Glitzy Glassware Watford. Simple as. And the email, if you want it, is glitzyglasswarewatford@gmail.com. So all very simple. We have fun, don't we? I have my little helper doing gift wrapping and giving me design ideas when she's bored. She draws a design and then I make it and we see how it'll come out, don't we? Yeah.
And then particularly, I suppose there's now the summer's upon us, but I know around Christmas time as well, you've done all the local craft fairs and things in the Watford/Hertfordshire area.
Oh, yes, that was fun. Oh, and Connie designed a bag. Oh, she's going off to get the bag now. She designed a bag as well.
Brilliant.
That I brought to life for her. But yeah, no, it's hard work. I'm not going to lie. And you know, sometimes you sit there for 3 hours and don't make a penny and it's cost you, 50 quid to go. But
oh, that's pretty. But in all seriousness, it's something that you have been able to carry on as much for your own mental health, but also to be able to fit around the children.
Yeah, no, it's really handy because it means if and when they are at school, I can sit down at my desk and will you stop nudging me out of the shop? ADHD. Yeah, when they're at school, when I've done all the housework, etc., I do chill out with it, and it is my place to go to. I put my headphones on. I watch the programs I want to watch that are probably inappropriate for certain people to watch, and I can just zone out into my own space, which is, I have to say, for all the SEND parents out there, as much as we jest and joke about it, it is an incredibly, as Liz knows from my many tearful phone calls, it's an incredibly difficult life to live. It has its perks, it has its joys, but it is really, really hard work. And probably the hardest work of it is not actually looking after Charlie and Connie. I think the majority of SEND parents would agree with me, is advocating for their children to get what they are entitled to as much as other children. And that is just to have a happy life at school. If they're forced to go to school, it should be enjoyable. It shouldn't be made difficult for them or more. I mean, even the other day you came home, didn't you, and said, dinner ladies keep telling me not to sit on my knees. And they've been told countless times she can't help sitting on her knees. It's just part of who she is. It is getting dark.
Why shouldn't you sit on your knees? I sometimes sit on my knees. I mean, it will take me an hour to get up after, but
Not quite.
Yeah, if I did that, my knees would be no good for about 4 weeks.
Yeah.
You can get those cushions now while you're out in the garden painting that bench. You used to, they're like these garden pads. You can sit on your knees on them.
They're
In order
foam ones, aren't they? I used to use a pillow.
Yes.
Just a pillow.
Well, it's a fancy pillow, isn't it, really? Let's be honest about it.
A pillow with glitter
I will
on.
have to Google that, Louise, on how the process is done with glitter. I've never come across it before. If you look at our banner across the bottom, you'll be able to see that it says about glitzy glassware Watford. So you can go and type it into the search engine for both Instagram and Facebook and even Google.
I will recommend if you're going to do it yourself, do use professional level glitter and glue. You would not believe that there is a difference. If you're selling it, it makes a huge
and
difference.
also don't put it in the dishwasher, because then the dishwasher will be decorated with glitter.
Well, not so much that, but your glass will be ruined. So.
Well, yes, that too.
Lou, your house must sparkle because glitter gets everywhere, doesn't it?
My husband loves it. Can you imagine? He goes everywhere and he looks like he's just been sprinkled with glitter. No, it's great.
It was in my keyboard the other day.
Yeah.
I just tipped my keyboard up and then there was glitter falling out.
There was glitter. You don't want to tip some of our keyboards up at work.
We have many a little Hoover in this house.
Yes, that's always a good idea. You talked about advocating, Anta's talked about advocating, and advocating for mental health is something that more and more people are doing, but it's still something that people are particularly blokes, I hasten to add, I hesitate to add maybe, that blokes are less good at advocating, not just for themselves, but mental health generally.
Yeah, it's. I think it's just the bloke thing, isn't it? Not to want to kind of do that sort of self-reflection and also to ask for help. I think some guys struggle with not being the provider, not being the kind of, you know, the man in charge, the man who provides. And I think things are changing. I think guys are becoming a bit more in tune with themselves and being able to express themselves. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with just reaching out and doing something for ourselves. In fact, it's a strength to recognize that, so that you actually can support yourself more effectively than maybe guys did previously. It's so important to just do some simple self-empowering stuff, like just go for a wander. Don't think of, you know, we all overthink things. You know, this isn't about planning. This isn't about putting pressure to go and find the right place to take those Insta pictures. You know, just going for a wander is the most powerful thing you can do. Not to think about it, just follow your feet. Just go for a wander, because you will find. Yeah, exactly that. You know, and you'll find yourself calming. You'll find yourself being lifted, and it's so beneficial and so simple. Just get out of your front door and go for a wander. And
I think it helps you to give some clarity when you have a change of scene, even if it's just setting foot outside. You don't have to solve all the problems in a day. It's very much one step at a time, quite literally.
Yeah, and it's choosing to do it. You know, you could choose to stay in that situation, to not take a lunch break. We all choose what we do, and I think for some it's harder than others because there's a sense of pressure to not take that lunch break because there's so much on your plate. But actually, it's recognizing the benefits for just 15 minutes, just switching your laptop off, switching off your phone or leaving your phone behind and going for that walk, because the benefits to you and, as you said, Lou, to our employers is absolutely amazing, and it can be a big difference.
What is the one thing, both of you, Lou first, that you would like to see that would help, whether it's in employment or education or in the health service?
Listen. Simply listen. Listen to parents, listen to the children, listen to what people are saying to you. I mean, I think everything, certainly in our situation that we've done, we've only come to a vague solution, maybe 6 or 7 months down the line. And I or Nathan, my husband, have been saying the same thing the whole time. And it's just been waiting for that one person to listen. Just listen. That's all I can. If people would just take note of what other people are saying, instead of jumping to a conclusion what they think that person needs, let the person tell you what they need.
I suppose it's where you've got the expert versus the parent, because you as the parent may not be a health expert, but you know your own children better than anyone.
100%. I mean, this goes back to anything really. Many years ago. I mean, Charlie's 13 now. When he was 1, we kept going to the doctor and saying he was ill. I had one GP actually laugh at me and call me a neurotic mother. We ended up in A&E, and it took one person to say, "What do you think is wrong?" I said, "Well, I think he's got some sort of chest infection." "Well, we'll do an x-ray." Blow me, he had pneumonia. It just takes, yourself, your children, what you need help-wise. If you don't, then a professional needs to try and guide you in the right way, but not to tell you what they think it is when they haven't listened to all the information. Yeah, that would be my
And what's the one thing that you feel you would like to see, or more of, even, whether it's in employment or health or education?
I mean, if you could prescribe nature bathing on the NHS, and really actively encourage it, I think, that the other day, I think I heard somebody saying that GPs are now going to prescribe going to football matches because of that sense of connection, and if that was available on the NHS, that sense of being around people and not that sort of social isolation, that's game changing for a lot of people. And I think that sense of, in the workplace, just being given the gift of space, of time, and being encouraged to actively go outside and take yourself out of that space is so hugely important. And I think, they will see the benefits from a productivity perspective, from a well-being perspective with their employees, and a sense of connection. People will be calmer, less stressed. That for me is a game changer.
Staff morale helps make a
Huge.
more productive workforce. Paul Claridge says, "I'm a bloke. I advocate for mental health, both my own and others. It's not weak to admit you're struggling or need help," which I think is always really important as well. "Yes, go for a walk, but also talk to a trusted friend, relative, or mental health practitioner. And I'm not just aiming this at blokes, but women too. I mentioned my close friend. She and I are there for each other in times of need. But likewise, I have similar relationships with male friends." And that is important, that having that person that you can say, "Do you know what? I'm struggling a bit. I just need to vent," or whatever. I mean, I know quite a few male friends who, one of my male friends was out with a bunch of old friends from school, I think it was. And they said at the end of it, I felt quite embarrassed because they were saying all these things they did, and they seemed to have perfect relationships and perfect children and perfect jobs and this, that, and the other. And I didn't feel I could turn around in the middle of that discussion and say, "Do you know what? Actually, I'm having a bit of a time of it at work," which is sad. If you're your oldest and closest friends, you should be able to confide in them like that, I think.
Being a good listener comes back to what you were saying, Lou, the whole listening thing. Being able to listen and not necessarily need to put your opinion across, just knowing that somebody is listening without judgment is a real skill, but also listening for stuff that's not being said as well. And then just asking very simple questions can help draw some of that stuff out that really is beneficial, because you then get that sense that not only have you been listened to, but things have been drawn out that allow you to park stuff. So listening is such a key thing with all of this.
Absolutely. I think giving people that platform to be able to be honest. And I had a conversation with someone recently, and they got very, very upset. And I said, "Please just say what you're feeling. I'm not going to judge you." And the person said, "I resent this other person." my response was, that is absolutely acceptable.
Mm.
You resent the situation you're in, and you're allowed to do that. You are allowed to have feelings, and I will listen to those feelings. I'm not going to judge that feeling. I'm going to make you or try and help you understand why that feeling is valid. And I think, like you say, listening covers such a multitude of sins. And if people just listen to each other a bit more, maybe there'd be a lot less stress in the world, full stop. And that goes as far as, world wars and all the rest of it. I think we just need to all absorb a little bit of what each other is saying, and not
simple kindness. Simple kindness is key.
Yes.
Definitely.
Oh, yes. And that, my friends and family, is where we must leave it. Thank you so much both to Louise Ashford and to Anthony Nigliazio Masters. I keep
almost,
saying
Liz.
almost. Damn you for having a hot Italian husband. That's what I'm saying. Thank you both, and Lou. That's much better, isn't it? Thank you, Ant and Lou, for being my guests today. Thank you, everybody who's participated, who's been watching, and who's commented as well. Thank you all for your company this lunchtime. Neil will be back on Wednesday with some guests as well. The boys, as I say, both away today. So you've had us instead. But thank you all very much, and good afternoon. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.